Hello, vinyl lovers, record junkies, music fiends. Uncle Roddus here again. Video time. It is the 21st of December 2024. Where the hell has this year gone? Unbelievable. Unbloody believable. It is incredible. We just had Christmas. Didn't we? We just had Christmas a few weeks back. Surely. When are the world's governments going to admit to us that the world is spinning faster and faster every year? It's a bloody conspiracy, I tell you. I've got quite a pile here to show because it was my birthday last week and I got a couple of records. I put my wife said, well, can I buy you some records for your birthday? She's already bought me quite an expensive present, which we kind of got earlier in the year. And also bought me a present of a ticket to see Ryan Adams play here next year, which is like nearly 10 months away. So it wasn't expecting too much, but so I said to her, she said, do you want a record? So I went on to the sales site that I've been showing a lot of records on the last few videos. Not that you'll be seeing any of those videos for quite some time because I'm way behind posting. I put a dozen records in the sale bin. I said, delete the ones you don't want to buy me, just buy me what you want out of that. And she bought me 2 records. Unfortunately, one of them I really didn't like at all. It was awful. I couldn't even listen to it. And I don't even know why I put it in my bin. I really don't know. I'd heard of them. Anyway, so I traded that today. So I took in a bunch of trades that I didn't want. I mean, she was happy that she didn't pick it. I picked it, so she was fine with it. So I just traded it in today. Also took my copper in, my scrap metal in, so got a few $100s there to play with. So went to Penny Lane and also I had some vouchers that Lynn gave me for my birthday as well, which was totally unexpected and wasn't expecting, so that was a real bonus. So I had a pretty big day out, and I'll get to those soon. But one that turned up just yesterday, I've been waiting for quite some time. I pre-ordered this 3 months ago, or 2 or 3 months ago, and it kind of got delayed a couple of times. Frenzy Music is a label here in New Zealand that mostly specialises in CD releases, and mostly, or pretty much all of them, are archival releases. So they do a lot of compilation, like various artist compilations back from the 60s and the 70s, and they also do unreleased archival stuff from people way back, or guys that, there are a lot of bands that never released, or maybe only released one single, and they did a lot of recording of stuff, like live recordings, they did home recordings, they did other stuff in studios, and none of it ever got released, because they weren't around long and they split up and they didn't sell much, blah, blah, blah. And there's been a few archival releases like that which I was showing. Anyway, Reaction Records, I believe, must have been the label. It says Reaction label 1979 to 89, so 10-year period. So that's all the releases that they've taken the records off on the back, and I'm familiar with quite a lot of these guys, and I've even got a few records by some of them. This is the vinyl. It's on a light blue vinyl, and the tracks, there are 11 tracks all up. There are only a couple of bands I wasn't familiar with. Most of the rest of the names I knew, and quite a few of the songs I kind of knew, or some of the songs I didn't know from the artist, but there were some I did. Yeah, so this is quite a good, and it's actually better than I thought it was going to be honest. But it's a New Zealand comp, so I buy pretty much everything that comes out in the various artists. So for my birthday, this is the one of the 2 that she got for me from that online web store. This is Hello Sailor their second LP, came out in 78. So yeah, this Graham Brazier, who's passed away now, I believe, and the rest of the band have been quite involved in the music scene and solo stuff over the last 40 plus years, 45 years. Not as good as their first LP, but there's a few tracks on here that were familiar, and I think it will grow on me. Now, last Saturday night there was a reunion gig by a band who I actually never heard of, but a couple of friends had mentioned that there was a reunion gig and they were putting out a vinyl copy of their only ever CD that they only released back in 1999, and this is it, Bernard Starr, Droney Shoegaze from Christchurch. I don't know him, but I know of one of the guys who was in this band who was in a couple other bands, and he's also the sound man at one of the gig venues I go to, and also actually recognised the bass player, the woman. She was familiar face to me because I'd seen her around quite a lot. This is on. Yeah, so the gig was really good. It was actually it was probably the first sold out gig I've seen at that venue. It's not a big venue, but it was absolute. I've never seen it so packed. So they were really popular, and like I say, two friends had said to me, "Hey man, this band is. I really enjoyed this band, and they're great." And one of the guys said, "I've got their CD." Well, probably both of them have got the CD, and I've been listening to it for years. So yeah, I'm impressed with that. So that was cool. Picked that up. That's on. What is this on? Leather Jacket, yeah. This is on Leather Jacket Records, who I've shown and mentioned before a few times, and I've got most of their releases. I don't have any of the 7 inches because I don't bother, but so anyway, yeah, they've put out plenty of good stuff, and that was another one. They've got quite a varied catalogue that they're releasing. So from Penny Lane today, I picked up quite a bunch of New Zealand stuff, which I've kind of been. I haven't bought a lot of New Zealand stuff in the last year. There's so much stuff coming out, and that I have to be a bit more selective about what I buy because I just can't buy all of it anymore. It's just too much. But I've got all of the records by these guys stuff from Dunedin, and it's also on Zell Records, which is a label I have pretty much all of what they put out. I don't think they ever released any singles, to be honest. I think it's all been albums, and I think I have all of them. Slow Death it's called, and I think it was recorded live at the Chicks Hotel last year, and it's just on February last year, so nearly 2 years ago, just on the black vinyl. Haven't played that one yet. What's playing behind me in the background is this, and this is one I was really pleased to find today. So it's called Broken Heart Surgery, and it's by Roy Montgomery and Friends. Now, I actually saw a review of this earlier in the year. It came out right at the start of this year, or February this year, and I saw a review of it in one of the uncut magazines that Lynn brought home from the library for me to have a flick through. And I got online after I saw it and read about it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Certainly not in New Zealand anyway. So that was interesting because he's been quite prolific. With that Broken Heart Surgery is kind of like, I haven't read the lyrics. The lyrics are all on the back here. Kind of seems to fit with the very melancholic releases that he has been doing since his wife passed away about 3 years ago. So that's really cool to have that. I'm pleased that I found that. And I picked up this LP by Middle, Christchurch sort of super group, you might say. They're all fairly older fellas, probably my age or older, who have been in many bands. Not many, but who've been in some bands that were quite well known around Christchurch back in the day. John Paul Sartre Experience, I think, was from one of them from memory, and I can't remember the other two. This was their second LP, came out in 2022, and I got their first one, and I haven't played it for ages. I seem to remember it was pretty cool. So I thought I'll grab that as well. And then this one, so there was, like I say, most of these are New Zealand, or pretty much all I bought first up was New Zealand. So this is another Frenzy music release, and it's another archival release, in that it's Peter Nelson and the Renaissance. Now, Peter Nelson was in the Castaway. Peter Nelson and the Castaways. They only released a couple of singles back in the 60s or the late 60s. I had one of those singles on a compilation CD that came out many years ago. That where it was when two CD compilations that came out that I really love them, and they have got some fantastic 60s and 70s stuff on it, which I never knew about in my younger days, and it was really obscure stuff, and nobody was kind of getting into that stuff back in those days when these comps came out in the early 90s. So that was probably one of the things that kick-started that sort of thing in New Zealand. After he broke up with the Castaways, he ended up in Hong Kong and got together with some expat New Zealanders and a couple of Pommy guys, 5 of them by the looks of it, and they got together this band called Renaissance, and they played in Hong Kong. And this I don't think they ever released anything back then. They just played some live stuff in Asia, but this was recorded for a 1971 Hong Kong TV special, Soul Funk. Anyway, this is really good. Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of covers. There's a couple of Buddy Miles songs. Brian Robertshaw is the guy who's on brass and keyboards. He's an Englishman. He wrote several of the songs. There's one track that's pinned to the whole group. There's a John Fogerty song. Oh yeah, there's a Green Onions, cover of Green Onions. Yeah, anyway, so a lot of covers stuff, but some originals. Yeah, and they're really good, really good. I'm really impressed with that, and it is on this kind of pinky sort of pink vinyl. So yeah, that was worth picking up. I wasn't sure. I mean, like I say, I knew Peter Nelson just from that single that he released way back with the Castaways back in the day, which was a cover version, because a lot of New Zealand 60s bands did covers, and yeah, so really impressed. So it's been pretty cool. Now, this one here I knew had come out, and I hadn't got around to jumping on it because funds had been a bit tight, and work is really tight at the moment, and I haven't been splashing out too much on records, just picking up stuff on specials and sales and that. But like I say, today I had some spare cash from the copper and the scrap metal, which is what I do once a year. Load the trailer up with as much as I've got. Didn't have a lot this year because it's been a slow year. I didn't have quite so much as I normally would. Anyway, this album was released just a few weeks back. Las Tetas. This is quite interesting. First of all, it's on this super cool marbly purple marble. This is really nice piece of vinyl, and it sounds really nice. It's a really quiet piece of vinyl, and this is on the 112 records. And of course, 112 is another one of my favourite New Zealand labels, and I buy everything that they put out in LP form. I don't buy the singles, of course, but they don't tend to do so many singles anymore. Now, this band released a single very early on in 112 Records' career when they were first starting out, and this was about 2011, and these guys released a single called You're Not Invited, and it was only a single-sided single, and you can still buy that single from them because they never sold out, because no one knew who they were. That single, I really love that song. I don't have the single, I mean, to be honest, because I don't really feel like paying $12 just for one song, but the song is on here. So they started recording an album back in the day. They did these sessions on, you can see them on YouTube. There's the video for You're Not Invited is one I have watched so many times. I love it, and it's actually a better version than what's on here, to be honest. This is a slightly altered version, and even the single, which I have heard, their version, the single version, is again slightly different from the video version, which was a live session that they recorded in session in a venue up in the North Island. So anyway, they recorded this album, never got released. They were signed or were going to sign to a US label. I don't know, everything fell apart for some reason. No one knows. There's no reason. No one knows why. They sort of the band began recording their debut album in 2012 at studios in Wellington and Auckland. This led to the band signing to US label Blood Moss Records in 2014. However, blah blah, due to questions, the album was never released. So when I posted this today, I said, millions have been waiting in anticipation for 10 years, and finally it's been released, the long lost, infamous Las Tetas album. They were a punky sort of band, all girl band. This it fits with that fairly well. It's pretty cool. I liked it, and pleased to have it. And of course, it's on 112 Records, so I was always going to buy it eventually. Find of the day, and I haven't actually played it yet. This is a second-hand one. This is quite a rare second-hand one, and quite a rare New Zealand second-hand one. The Magoohan Touch. This is an offset release from 1985. Offsets was again another Christchurch label. These were not a Christchurch band. I believe they were from Auckland. Possibly. There's actually... They recorded in Christchurch. I'd have to look up Discogs. Anyway, so Offset were a label, Christchurch label, a little bit legendary in the Christchurch music scene. I've managed to find a couple of their releases that I've picked up. The Primitives is one of them. This one is probably a little bit more rarer. There are some singles too that they put out which are really rare and very hard to get and a lot more pricey than this. I did pay 3 figures for this record. It's in really good condition for its age, so yeah, like it's nearly 40 years old. So I haven't played it yet, although I think I have heard a couple of tracks off it. So yeah, that was a pretty good score. And then this one here, another one on Leather Jacket Records, which has been out for a few weeks or a few months, and it is also on coloured vinyl. They are putting this one, it's actually on clear vinyl, not coloured vinyl. Holly Aerosmith, this is it's her second album of vinyl. I think she may have another one out. Or has she? I don't know. Or am I thinking of someone else? Her second album on vinyl that I've got, and it's really good. Side 1 particularly was really, really impressive. It kind of tailed off a little bit on side 2 perhaps, but I need to listen to it a bit more. I've only got the one quick play this afternoon, because I've only just bought these today, so I haven't listened to all of them yet. And then I finally picked this one up, which has been on my radar for the last couple of months, also because it's a fairly recent release. Delaney Davidson's first new album out in a few years. He's been a pretty busy man. He does a lot of production work in New Zealand on bands, which is really cool. He's pretty good with that. He also does a lot of collaboration work, which I'll come to in a minute. This is a good album. I really enjoyed this. He did a lot of stuff on his earlier albums with a vocoder, whatever. He altered his vocals electronically, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. But his album's always good. It's got this kind of Obi strip here as well. His last album, I remember, was pretty strong too. So he's always good. But I do like him. Best in collaboration with others. And so that being said, the next record is this one, which also came out this year. Delaney with Barry Saunders. Now, Barry Saunders is a long time stalwart of New Zealand music, and he was in a band called the Waratahs, I believe. The Waratahs were a sort of a world's folksy kind of country. I don't know, they were a little bit different. I remember seeing them live years ago. They were pretty popular around the town, around the country, and they put out a few records. I don't have any of their stuff, but Barry and Delaney got together a couple of 3 years back and put out a really good album together, and it was really good. It had one track particularly, which might have been the title track to the album, which I thought was an impressively great track, and it should have been a commercial success. I don't know if it got played on any radio stations or anything, but should have done, but so much New Zealand music gets completely ignored in New Zealand. So yeah, all of those were new, my pickups this morning. And then I left the shop after I purchased all those, and I handed over most of the cash, or a fair wad of the cash, plus the to pay for those. Plus I got $100 off for the trade-in. Plus I got my usual little discount that Gary gives me because we've known each other for 40 years, and we went to school together and blah blah blah. So, anyway. And then I realised when I left the shop that I hadn't spent the 2 vouchers that Lynn had given me for my birthday. They were still in my wallet. So I went and had some lunch, and then I went back to the store after lunch, and luckily Gary was still there because, get a bit of a discount as well. And I decided I know there was some Woolies on stuff that I would have minded looking at. I just lift the needle off the record. But I decided to have a look in the jazz bins and pick up some jazz. And I'd actually had a brief look through the jazz bins and I saw one that was interested in me. But anyway, I was flicking through the jazz bins and I found this one, an ECM. And for some reason, it's really tight. I'm going to have to change the cover because that is very tight. This is an ECM, Chick Corea, Dave Holland. And I thought, oh, wow, that's a cool combination. And I'm not sure about Barry Altskill. I didn't recognise his name as much. But I thought, that's really cool. And I didn't recognise the cover. And it's like ECM 1009, so very early. And I thought, oh, I'll grab that one. I don't know if I've seen that before. And I certainly didn't recognise the cover, which I quite like. It's a Road. It's a Road Fitter. It's pretty cool. Got the fucking thing home and I've already got a copy of it of a completely different cover. The cover's just a plain blue cover with a kind of a geometric symbol with ARC in it, and it was like, bugger, I already got this record. I didn't even realise it because it fooled me because of the cover. I've got a lot of ECM records, and so I don't remember the names of all of the ones I've got, but I can usually tell by the covers looking at the covers. But I definitely didn't have this one. New Directions by Jack DeJohnette with John Abercrombie on guitar and Lester Bowie on trumpet, so that should be pretty cool. From 1981? No, 1978 actually. ECM 1128. So this is actually a US promo copy. Don't normally get US copies over here, so that was quite interesting to pick that up. And then 2 to go. So I saw, like I said, I'd had a quick look through the jazz bins before, and so I decided to grab this one because it was a little bit expensive, but I do like to grab. I have a few Archie Shepp stuff, and he's pretty out there, eh? So this is a 1974 Impulse. It looks like an original copy, as far as I can tell, of some sort. Kawanza gatefold. This is quadraphonic. It says it can be played on quadraphonic and stereo equipment. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a quadraphonic record, but maybe I have. I don't know. So looking forward to playing that. I'm sure my wife won't be though. And finally, this one here is a fairly recent Impulse release, and from 2021, and I've seen this posted on Facebook quite a lot. And I Love Supreme. I don't have the actual album on vinyl. I have it on CD. I've had it on CD for many years, but I don't actually have it on vinyl. But everybody says this is a pretty damn good. So I'm really looking forward to playing this. This was in the second-hand bins, and it had a reasonably good price tag on it, but so I don't know if it's second-hand or if it looks brand new. I mean, the condition is absolutely mint. I mean, it looks unplayed. Maybe it's been sitting there for quite a while. I haven't been able to shift it. I don't know why, because it's a pretty freaking good LP. Well, it should be. Some pretty awesome music. So, okay, that is quite a lot of records, and that is quite a lot of time. So I've been prattling on for 24 minutes. So I will let you go back to your day. Have a Merry Christmas, and we shall see you in the new year. Hopefully things will pick up and I can afford to buy more records. Cheers.